What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Nashio. Welcome back to the channel. Let me move my... There we go. Had to move... Slightly adjust my camera for a second. So for today's video, I actually have something very special for you guys because today I have an Arcana Knight deck profile for you guys. Yes. So this is basically the King's Knight, Queen's Knight, Jack's Knight deck, if you will. Post King's Court. Unfortunately, unfortunately, I did not get my hands on an entire booster box, which is unfortunate, but I was able to pick up 6 packs from my partners at Collector Store, so be sure to check them out. The link will be in the description below. I was able to get 3 additional packs to do a 9-pack opening. But I think I'm going to combine this with a Ghost from the Past box opening that I'll do at some point. But yeah, so this is post King's Court for the August-September 2021 format. This is a really interesting one because with the Arcana Knights, or with the face card, archetype, if you will, we didn't really get a whole lot of support for them. I mean, the only cards we ever got were Jack's Knight, Queen's Knight, King's Knight, and Arcana Knight Joker. Those were the only cards we ever got for them until now, where we were able to get our hands on these types of cards. This is pretty cool because the main deck is a 40 card build, and it's slightly budget. I did test out some things, and I realized one of the cards that's a 3 of in the deck is just not that good. It's not that good. But this other card that we'll talk about once we get into the spell lineup is actually really good. The extra deck lineup consists of 2 fusions, 2 synchros, 4 exceeds, and the rest are links, with the side deck having 2 additional exceeds and 1 additional link, and then the rest are just like monsters, 1 spell card, and the rest are traps. This is a really cool deck because your main focus is summoning out Arcana Knight Joker and another fusion that is actually really good in this deck. So I will get to that later on in this video, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys do enjoy this video and you guys want to see more deck profiles in the foreseeable future, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell, and be sure to check me out on Twitter and Instagram. The links will be down in the description. And right now we are officially on the road to 200 subs. We're already at like 103, 104 right now, so we are on the road to 200, which is incredible. And if you guys are wondering about this, my arthritis is kicking in, and yeah. So disregard these. But with that being said, let's get straight into the deck profile. First up, we have 2 copies of Jack's Knight, King's Knight, and Queen's Knight. You only need 2 copies of each in this deck because if you run 3, you're gonna end up bricking, and some of the newer cards, the newer monsters, the spells, and the traps actually allow you to recycle them back into the deck to add those cards those cards from the grave back to the hand, so you can use them over and over and over again. So that's why you only need 2 copies of each. Next up, for the level 10 lineup, we have 2 copies of Arcana Triumph Joker and 1 copy of Slifer the Sky Dragon. Why Slifer? I'll explain that once we get into the spells. But Triumph Joker is really cool because its effect reads as follows: if this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can send 1 Queen's Knight, King's Knight, and Jack's Knight from your hand or face up monster zone to the grave. Special summon this card. This card gains 500 attack, multiplied by the combined number of cards in both players' hands. You can discard one card, destroy all face-up cards your opponent controls with the same type, monster, spell, or trap as the discarded card. Slifer, now with Slifer, it gains 1,000 attack for each card in your hand. So that's pretty good. And not only that, it's also another really good board wipe where if your opponent normal summons or special summons a monster in attack position, that monster loses 200 attack, and if it goes down to 0, it's destroyed right off the bat. With Triumph Joker, it's basically, it can either be a Regeki or it can be a Harpy's Feather Duster, depending on what you're more concerned about the most. If you're more concerned about your opponent's monster lineup rather than your opponent's back row, then definitely they can send a monster from your hand to the graveyard to destroy all monsters that they control. But if it's the other way around, then you can send a spell or trap to the graveyard to destroy that many cards. Which running two copies of this is really good because the funny thing is, it does not say that you can only summon the card once per turn. So you can use the effect over, so you can summon it again if it gets baited out by the effects of a Solemn Judgment, Solemn Strike, or even a Solemn Warning, which is really good. Next up, we have 3 copies of one of the newer cards in the archetype from King's Core, Joker's Knight. This is actually a really cool one because this has a Cyber Dragon effect where you can just special summon it from your hand, but there's a cost. The cost is that you can send one Queen's Knight, King's Knight, or Jack's Knight from your deck to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hands. And if you do, this card's name becomes the set monster's name until the end phase. So does that effect do anything? Does that do anything? No, it really doesn't. Having this card's name being changed to that, it does absolutely nothing. Unless if you're planning on summoning Arcana Triumph Joker, then yeah, it can do something. Excuse me. But what's cool about Joker's Knight is its other effect, where it says during the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target one of the light warrior in your grave, shuffle it into the deck, and if you do, add this card to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. So with this, because that you're running several light, you're running multiple light warriors. So you have cards like Arcana Knight Joker. You have cards like Utopia the Lightning, Utopia Double. You have Arcana Extra Joker. You have and then you also have as well a Soul, Two Tails of the Noble Knight as well. You can just send any of them back into the extra deck and add this card to your hand, which is really, really good. Which is really good. Being able to just recycle them back into the deck and add this card to your hand so you can use the summon effect over and over again is really good. Plus, it's also a really good target for synchro summoning either a level 8 or potentially a level 10, which I'll get to that once we get into the extra deck. And speaking of tuners, we actually have 2 copies of Rose, Warrior of Revenge. You guys are probably wondering, why am I playing this card? Truth be told, this card is actually really good because even though the effect is not great, where the effect says when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, inflict 300 damage to your opponent, you can use this as a this card is a warrior tuner. So you can go Joker's Knight or Jack's Knight, depending on which one you don't care about the most, of course. Rose, Warrior of Revenge, and a 1-star monster such as Fireflint Lady, or even also Infernal Knight Renault, I believe is the name. And you can go into something, and you can go into a level 10 monster such as Ascension Sky Dragon, or this other one, Allied Justice Decisive Armor. Yes, Decisive Armor is in this deck, and I realize This card's actually really good. Why? I'll explain once we get into the extra deck. But 2 copies, really good. Plus, you can also use the other one, use the other rose to sync with a card like King's Knight or even Queen's Knight, and go into Cyphering Lord Omega, which has a really good banished effect. Next up, we have 3 copies of Imperial Bower, which has a unique effect, where the effect says, if you control no other cards, you contribute this card. Take 2 different monsters from your deck among Queen's Knight, King's Knight, and or Jack's Knight, and you can either add them to your hand or special summon each monster. You can only use this effect once per turn. This card basically allows you to summon to special summon Queen's Knight and King's Knight, and then you can normal summon Rose, Warrior of Revenge, and then sync the Queen's Knight with Rose and go into a card like Cyphering Lord Omega, or you can link them off into a card like Phoenix, Lina, the Light Charmer, Link Monster, Assault, Nightmare Cerberus, or even also Utopia Double as well, which is really good. Really good effect. Next up, for the 1 stars, we have Next up, we have one copy of Infernobili Renaud and a copy of Fire Flint Lady. You're probably wondering, why am I running these 2 cards? Well, truth be told, one of the spells in the extra deck that I'm running is Infernoble Arms Durandal. Durandal is really good because you can equip this monster to any warrior monster, and you can and it allows you to add a level 5 or lower fire warrior from your deck to your hand. You're running 4 warriors: Rose, Warrior of Revenge, Renaud, and Fire Flint Lady. Those are the 4. You can add one of them to your hand off of this card, off of Durandal, and send it to the graveyard. It also has another effect where I will actually read off the card's effect. It says while this card is equipped to a monster, you can add 1 level 5 or lower fire warrior from your deck to your hand, then destroy this card. If this card is sent to the grave, because the equipped monster is sent to the grave, you can target a level 5 or lower fire warrior in your grave, special summon it. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of their turn except warriors. So if you did not use the first effect where you get to Rhoda a fire warrior, if you didn't do that, because of the fact that your opponent was able to use a card like Bottomless Trap Hole, say for example, on a card like say King's Knight, then you're able to special summon Rose or any of the other fire warriors that are in the deck from the graveyard back to the field right off the bat, which would allow you to go into a card like Assault, or even also Arcana Extra Joker as well, which is really good. So Reynolds is actually kind of cool because if you control because the card says if you control a fire warrior monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if summoned this way, this card is treated as a tuner. So with this, you would need to. So with this, you can tune this card with Jack's Knight and Queen's Knight to go into a card like Decisive Armor, or if you do not if you don't treat this card as a tuner, you go Jack's Knight, Rose, Renaud, boom, Decisive Armor, really easily. What else to say? You can only special summon Infernobili Renaud once per turn this way. If this card is special summon, you can target one of your fire warriors or one of your equipped spells that is banished or in your grave, except Renaud, added to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. Fire Flint Ladies is basically a Cyber Dragon, where if you have a warrior monster on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then its effect also says you can send this card from the field to the grave, special summon a level 4 lore warrior from your hand. If you do, your opponent cannot target it with card effects this turn. So it's basically a protection, but you really don't care about that. You really don't care about that because you want to use Fireflint Lady as either a sync material or you can also use it as a fusion material, which I'll get to the fusions a little later on. And then, or you can even also use it as link material as well. It just depends on how you use it. It just depends on how you see it, basically. But that's pretty much it for the monster lineup. For the spells, we have one copy of Face Card Fusion. This is basically the polymerization to go into Arcana Knight Joker, which is just that broken. But its effect, but I'll actually read off its effect. It says, fusion summon one light warrior fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. If you control Queen's Knight, King's Knight, or Jack's Knight, you can use one monster from your deck as fusion material. You can only activate one face card fusion per turn. So it's basically a mix of polymerization with Red Eyes Fusion, where with Poly you have to use cards that are in your hand or on the field. But if you have one of the three knights on the field, you can treat it as a Red Eyes Fusion by just sending the materials from the deck to the grave to summon Arcana Knight Joker, which is just that broken. It's just that broken. Next up, we have one reinforcement of the army. Basically, you're just adding a warrior to the hand. You can't go wrong with that. Monster Reborn, it's Monster Reborn. You have to run Monster Reborn. Three copies of Joker's Straight. This is a really good one. This is a really broken card. It says because the effect says discard one card, special summon one Queen's Knight from your deck. Then, I know it doesn't say then, but it says, but then add one King's Knight or Jack's Knight from your deck to your hand. Then immediately after this card resolves, you can normal summon one monster. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except light warrior monsters. During the end phase, if this card is in your grave, you can target a light warrior in your grave, shuffle it into the deck, and if you do add this card to your hand, you will use each effect once per turn. So you special summon Queen's Knight from your deck, add King's Knight to your hand, normal summon the King's Knight, activate King's Knight's effect, special summon Jack's Knight from the deck, activate face card fusion, go into Arcana Knight Joker. You legitimately have a damn near 4,000 beat stick on board. It's just that simple. It is just that damn simple. It's super good. Being able to just spam the board with the three knights and being able to also summon Rose and sync Rose with Queen's Knight. Go into Frame Lord Omega, activate face card fusion, summon Arcana Knight Joker. Not only would you have a 2,800 body on board, but you will also have a 3,800 body on board as well, which is a pretty good. That's a pretty good combo. Being able just to summon a fusion and a synchro in the same turn, this card can really help out. Now I know that's. I've seen a lot of decks run 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance because they really don't give a damn about the extra deck, but I do. I actually give a damn about the extra deck because the extra deck can change the course of a match drastically. So because that Pot of Extravagance is pretty expensive, and since also what's the other one? Pot of Indulgence, I think is the other one. Let me see. Pot of Prosperity, Pot of Prosperity. Because that Pot of Prosperity is like a $100 card, $200 card. I've actually opted to run 3 copies of Pot of Duality. Pot of Duality is really good because all you're doing is just excavating the top three cards of your main deck, and you add one of them to the hand and shuffle the rest back into the deck. That's just it. The only downside is that you cannot special summon anything. You cannot special summon at all during the turn you activate the card, which is unfortunate. But that really doesn't matter because the only thing that you want to do is just add cards to your hand. But you are able to bypass it by activating face card fusion to summon Arcana Knight Joker, and then activate a card like Pot of Duality to be able to get out, and your spells and whatnot, just set them and pass. You're pretty much good to go. It does not say that you can special summon before you activate this card. It does not say, because if it did, you would have been screwed. But Pot of Duality is still pretty good. It's a much more budget friendly card, which I believe in King's Court I think is rare, but it's also supposed to be one of the collector's rares in the set, if I remember correctly. Next up we have 1 copy of Super Poly. Why am I running Super Poly? I will explain once we get into the extra deck, and I'll explain why. But moving on, we have 3 copies of Thunder Speed Summon. This card is busted. It is so fucking busted. And I'll read off its effect. It's actually a quick play spell. It says, during the main or battle phase, immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon a 1 level 10 monster, or if you control Queen's Knight, King's Knight, and Jack's Knight, you can apply this effect instead. Add 1 level 10 non-dark monster with question mark attack from your deck to your hand. Then, immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon a level 10 monster. You can only activate 1 Thunder Speed Summon per turn. Hello? Slifer the Sky Dragon is a non-dark monster with question mark attack, and it's a level 10. That's why I said that I was running Slifer the Sky Dragon, is because this card is actually a target for Slifer the Sky Dragon, and even also Arcana Triumph Joker, which is really good. Especially if you have 5 cards in your hand, you activate Thunder Speed Summon during your opponent's battle phase, special summon Slifer right off the bat, and it doesn't even have to be from the hand. It can be from the deck or the graveyard, and you're good to go. And you're normal summoning. You're not special summoning. If you were special summoning Slifer, a card like Slifer, it would have been sent back into the graveyard, which, there you go. So, 3 copies of Thunder Speed Summon. Being able to just summon Slifer, being able to summon Arcana Triumph Joker during your opponent's battle phase is just really good. Next up, we have 1 copy of Double or Nothing. This is being mainly for the Utopia package. So what you do is you would overlay, Queen's Knight and King's Knight, I'll say, summon Utopia double, activate double's effect, detach one of the materials, add Double or Nothing from the deck to the hand, then special summon Utopia, go into the battle phase, attack into a monster, activate Utopia's effect, detach a material to negate its own attack, activate Double or Nothing, give it a second attack. You're basically being able to just OTK with this combo. So that's just that. Next up, we have 1 copy of Living Fossil. This is basically another Monster Reborn for the deck, but what's interesting about this is effect. It says activate this card by targeting 1 level 4 or lower monster in your graveyard. Special summon it and equip it with this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. Even if this card has left the field. When this card leaves the field, banish the equipped monster. The equipped monster loses 1,000 attack and defense. Also, its effects are negated. You can only activate 1 Living Fossil per turn. So what's interesting about this is that is that if you want to go into is that funny enough, you can bypass the banish effect by using the monster as exceeds material. It's similar to to what's the one to Galactic Spiral Dragon, where you can special summon it from the graveyard, but you have to banish it when it leaves the field. It's the exact same way. You bypass it by using the monster as exceeds material. So if you summon King's Knight off the effects of Living Fossil, you normal summon Queen's Knight, overlay you overlay the King and the Queen, summon Utopia Double, activate Double's effect, detach the King's Knight, and it's still in the graveyard. You don't banish it. That's the beauty of it. It's just that broken. And then of course again, Durandal, I already talked about it earlier on in the video. Now moving on to the trap cards. There's only 5 in the main. So we have 3 copies of Joker's Wild. This is a really cool one because its effect says during the main or battle phase, send 1 spell from your deck to the grave that specifically lists all the queens, kings, and jacks knight. This effect becomes that spell's effect when that card is activated. During the end phase of this card is in your grave, you can target a light warrior in your grave, shuffle it into the deck, and add this card to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. Hello, face card fusion. You can actually use it. It's just that broken. Joker's Wild, send face card fusion from your deck to your graveyard. Special summon, or rather fusion summon, Arcana Knight Joker right off the bat. It's just that broken. It's just that broken. And then 2 copies of Solemn Warning. Basically, I know that a lot of people prefer Solemn Strike because you're paying you're only paying 1,500 life points. But what's cool about Solemn Warning is that you're basically negating the summon or a card effect right off the bat. That's it. That's it. I don't have to say anything else. Moving on into the extra deck. First up, we have the one Arcana Knight Joker. It said so its effect reads: a fusion summon of this card can only be done with the above materials. Once per turn, when a spell or trap card, when a spell trap or monster effect is activated that targets this face-up card on the field, quick effect, you can discard the same type of card and negate the effect. It's basically it's basically Solemn Judgment, but you're not destroying the card. Basically, it's just that broken. Plus, it's a 3,800 beat. It's a 3,800 body on board. You really can't go wrong with that, honestly. And now for the reason why I'm running Super Poly. This fusion is a Super Poly target. What is it, you may ask? It is none other than Guilty Gear Free, the Magical Steel Knight. Yes, this is a Super Poly target because your opponent will be running cards from the extra deck. There are also warrior type monsters. This one requires 2 warriors with different attributes. It's a fucking Super Poly. It's a Super Poly target that requires different attributes from 2 warriors. So you can target your light warrior and your opponent's water warrior, let's say, for example. That's how crazy this card is. Its effect reads: once per turn, when a card or effect is activated that targets this card, as a quick effect, you can negate the effect, and if you do, destroy 1 card on the field. That effect right there, it's basically Solemn Judgment, but you're not paying any life points, basically. If this card was fusion summoned using only monsters on the field as material, it can make a second attack during each battle phase. Once per turn, if this card battles an opponent's monster during damage count, as a quick effect, you can banish a spell from your grave. This card gains attack equal to half its current attack until the end of the turn. Yeah, so it's a Solemn Judgment. It's a Cyber Twin Dragon. And and this card is gaining. And this card is also a Kalute the Moon Shadow. 3 cards in 1, and it's a Super Poly target. It's broken. It's a broken card, and yet people are saying that this card is not good. It's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. Next up, we have the 1 copy of Ally of Justice Decisive Armor. This is a really cool one because its effect reads: once per turn, if your opponent controls a face-up light monster or monsters, you can activate one of these effects. Select one set card your opponent controls and destroy it. Send one card from your hand to the grave to destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls. Send all cards in your hand to the grave to look at your opponent's hand, and send all light monsters in the hand to the grave. Then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the total attack of the opponent's monsters sent to the graveyard. You're basically getting the power to destroy cards your opponent controls or discarding their hand. How is this not broken? People say that that's not broken. It is just that broken. It's just that good. Plus, it's a 3300 body on board. It's just that broken. It's just that good. Next up, we have the one Cyphering Lord Omega. It's pretty self-explanatory. I really don't need to explain. It's a 2800 buddy on board. Banish a card from your opponent's hand. It's just that good. Now for the Xyz lineup, we have one copy of Divine Arsenal AA Zeus Sky Thunder. This is pretty cool because I know that Zeus is pretty expensive, but Zeus is really good because if an Xyz monster battle this turn, you can Xyz summon Thunder. You can Xyz summon Zeus by using one Xyz monster you control as material. And two of the Xyz monsters that are in the side deck, you're basically gaining the power to absorb your opponent's cards as their own material. And the more materials that you have, the higher your chances you'll be able to use Zeus's effect, which says you can detach two materials from this card, send all of the cards from the field to the grave. That does not count Zeus. It does not count Zeus, mind you. Once per turn, if another card or cards you control is destroyed by battle or opponent's card effect, you can attach one card from your hand, deck, or extra deck to this card as material. It's just that broken. Next up, we have Utopia, the Utopia package. We have Utopia the Lightning, Utopia, and Utopia Double. They're self-explanatory. We all know what they do. I'm not really going to explain what they do. Now for the link lineup, we have one copy of Arcana Extra Joker. This card requires 3 warrior monsters with different names, so you could basically just use Jack's Knight, Queen's Knight, and Joker and Joker's Knight if you wish. There are so many combinations. It's just really good. But this card is really cool because the effect says, why is it open my laptop? Thank you. The effect says once per turn, when a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated that targets this face-up card on the field, or a monster card, or a monster the card points to, quick effect, you can discard the same type and negate the activation. So it has that effect is the same as Arcana Knight Joker, but the second effect is different. When this Link Summon card is destroyed by battle and sent to the grave, you can special summon a level 4 warrior normal monster from your deck, and if you do, add a level 4 warrior monster from your deck to your hand. So basically summon out Queen's Knight, and then add Rose. Basically, it's just that good. Now for the Nightmare package, we have Nightmare Unicorn, Nightmare Phoenix, and Nightmare Cerberus. Unicorn focuses on destroying pretty much any card that you want on the field. Phoenix focuses on the opponent's back row. Cerberus focuses on the special summon monsters, and if they're all co-linked, you're able to draw multiple cards right off the bat, which is just that good. We have one copy of Lina the Light Charmer Lustrous, which is not the best in this deck, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool because the effect says you can target one light monster your opponent controls. Sorry, you can target one light monster in your opponent's grave, special summon it to your zone this card points to. If this Link Summon card is destroyed by battle or is destroyed by an opponent's card effect while in its own monster zone, you can add a light monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. So basically, you're able to just add you're basically able to add either Queen's Knight, Triumph Joker, or even Bower from your deck to your hand, which is just, it's just that good. And then last but not least, 2 copies of Soul, 2 Tails of the Noble Knights. Basically, it's a Rhoda. It's basically a Rhoda. I don't have to explain much about it. For the side deck, we actually have a pretty interesting lineup for the side. We have 2 copies of Artifact Scythe. This card basically prevents your opponent from special summoning any monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. This is basically a much more, I guess, a much more cheaper version of the Buster Luck, which is just that broken. It's just that broken. 2 copies of Artifact Lancia. This card prevents cards from being banished for the rest of the turn. Or rather, I'm actually running only 1 copy. Actually, sorry. One copy of Lancia, and then 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Is Ash Blossom? You gotta run it. Now for the extra lineup, we have number 38, Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy, and also Cyber Dragon Infinity. These cards are really good because you're able to absorb your opponent's cards as their own material, and they're also perfect for summoning Zeus right off the bat, which is really good. And then also Access Code Target. 1 copy of Access Code Target. This card is just broken on its own. I don't have to explain what it does. It's an Omni Negate. It's an Omni Negate. It's just that broken. Next up, we have 1 copy of Call by the Grave. You want your plays to go through, so definitely run Call by the Grave. Now you're probably wondering, why am I running Infinity, number 38 and Decisive Armor. Truth be told, if you can't summon Decisive Armor the right way, there's another way you can do it. Waking the Dragon. I did not realize how broken Waking the Dragon was up until now, but Waking the Dragon is really good, and I'm running 3 copies of it. This card is really good because if it's destroyed, if it was sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, while it was set, you can special summon any monster from your main or extra deck, which could be Triumph Joker, it could be Slifer, Decisive Armor, Cyber Infinity. You can summon anything, and that's it. And I'm running 3 copies of it as well. And then to round up the deck itself, I'm running 2 copies of Mind Drain. It's interesting because this deck revolves around effects in the hand, but what you're mainly trying to do the most is you're trying to summon out Arcana Knight Joker, and also Guilty Gear Free, as well as Decisive Armor and Zeus as your board. If you're able to make those 4 monsters as your board, now you would have what? I'll say Night Joker would count as like what? 3 negates, 4 negates. You got another 8. You've got a pretty impressive amount of negates, and plus because that you have pot of duality. If your opponent has a card like, say, Ash Blossom, and they try to negate it, you can use Mind Drain to negate the effect of their Ash Blossom, but it would also prevent you from activating monster effects in the hand as well. But it is still a pretty good card. But guys, that is actually going to do it for this deck profile. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this deck. I'm actually curious about it, so make sure you guys comment below your thoughts. And that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel, you guys want more deck profiles in the foreseeable future, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any new content that comes your way. And be sure to check me out on Twitter and Instagram. All the links will be down in the description below. And if you guys have fan mail that you want to send me and want me to open up on the channel, my address will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.